Hey guys, it's Haley, and this week's theme on 7 Awesome Girls is verses. So I'm going to do a high school versus middle school. So let's get started. Okay, so these verses are kind of just like my school's verses. So not saying like these are for every middle school and high school experience. These are just for my high school and middle school experience. So I was a freshman last year, so I kind of know, I guess I don't really know exactly, but like these are fresh in my head kind of thing, because middle school was only 2 years ago and high school was last year, so I can do this. So and I'm going to be reading off of my list that I made, so I'm not really professional about this, but you know, I gotta have a base to go off of. So let's get into the video. Okay, so number 1 is for middle school. For me, I had 7 classes, and in high school I have 5. So there are more classes in middle school and less classes in high school. But in middle school you have less of a variety of classes you can take, and in high school you have a way bigger variety of classes you can take. The maturity level in middle school is really, really low, and kids are crazy, and I feel like as soon as you get into high school, like people's maturity levels start to get higher, and they are more respectful, for some people, not for everyone, but not saying that everybody is mature, but for most part, people are. For me, everybody in middle school, like all the teachers were like, you're going to have so much homework in high school, and it's going to be a crazy amount, and so they piled a bunch of books on us and everything, and then when we got into high school, we maybe had a little bit of homework, but we didn't have nearly as much as I had in middle school. So that I'm grateful for, that's over with, which brings me to book reports. English, my 8th grade year. Okay, so yeah, like I was saying, sorry, my sister walked in the room, but in 8th grade, I had so many book reports. I think I had like 10 book reports for the whole 8th grade year, and then my freshman year, I had none. Like, I didn't do any book reports. There were no book reports that were given to us. We didn't have to do any book reports at all. So I was like, once again, that's a lot of homework. I don't want that. Sorry. And for phones. Phones were a big issue in middle school. Like, no teachers let us have phones. And then as soon as we got into high school, teachers were like, they got phones. They're high schoolers. What are they going to do? So we got to use phones quite a bit in high school. But, like me, I have a really crappy phone. So that was not the best deal for me, because I didn't get to do anything. Nothing really changed. But I feel like in middle school, you want to break the rules. So, you know, you want to be on your phone. But in high school, it's like, I have the worst phone ever, so why would I want to use it? The next thing is, I feel like your friend group, it gets so much smaller in high school. You have so many friends in middle school. Everybody is your friend. And then you get into high school, and everybody goes their different ways, and they're friends with other middle schools that are in your district. And, you know, your friend group is shrunk down to like 4 people. And I'm like, maybe that's just for me, but yeah, I was like, I only have like 5 friends now. And I went from like having 40 friends, okay, I'm exaggerating, but I went from having so many friends to having like 5 friends, and I'm like, oh, I guess I know who my true friends are, but yeah, that was weird. And for middle school, the last thing is, lockers. I had a locker in middle school, and I don't know if every school has a locker in middle school, but I use my locker every single day. High school, I'm lucky if I use it once a month. So lockers are a big deal in middle school, and they are not a big deal in high school. Which brings me to one more that I just thought of. Passing time. So that's from like when you go from one class to another. Oh my goodness. We had 3 minutes in passing time in middle school, And that was the worst because, like, you were running in the hallways with all these kids coming through, and teachers didn't care if you were late or they cared if you were late because they're like, well, you should have had enough time to get from this class to the next class in 3 minutes. And you're like, you try and get from, you know, A hall to E hall. It's like, it's terrible. But in high school, you have 5 or 6 minutes, give or take, and the teachers don't care if you're late. Like, it doesn't really matter. Sometimes they care. It depends on the teacher, but, you know, if you have, like, an excuse, like, if you were going to the bathroom or something like that, then they'll believe you, or if you were going to the vending machine, that one's kind of iffy, but, you know, it kind of just all depends on the teacher, so, yeah. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. This week's theme was versus, so middle school versus high school. And so, yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and add to favorites if you haven't, and, you know, all that good stuff. Sorry. You're so weird, Taylor. Anyway. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye! Say hi, Taylor. This is my sister, Taylor. She loves to be on camera. Not really, but, yeah. That's her. And that's kind of my room. Kind of messy, but that's Taylor. Kinda. Okay, yeah. So,